Jaguar's new all-electric I-Pace. Joey, what can you tell us about the I-Pace?
I-Pace is Jaguar's first electric SUV. It is aimed in the mid-size range, which is currently the best-selling range of SUVs. A lot of the technology in the I-Pace comes from the Formula E car that Jaguar has. Formula E is an electric Formula One series, therefore Jaguar can put a lot of the sporty driving characteristics into an electric car. Now, the car is pretty simple aerodynamics-wise. Obviously, you have a radiator for cooling the battery, and then you have this vent here, which smooths out the air and goes under the hood, up over the roof. And then for cooling the brakes, you have these ducts around here.
I want to talk briefly about aerodynamics and EV vehicles. Since there's this range anxiety that comes along with EV product, there's always a consciousness around aerodynamics in an EV, and that's why you'll see a lot of the EVs taking this kind of crossover shape, because they test all the pieces of product in a similar wind tunnel, and that's why a lot of the vehicles share some of the similar styling characteristics. Aerodynamics are very important in EV to maximize the range in the product.
The design they went with is a traditional Jaguar style with having long, very smooth body. Every line you will see will flow across the entire body. It looks like a waveform throughout the body. So it's steep over here, then crests out over here. Right at the driver's side door, it dips down, and then up towards the passenger on the rear side, it comes right back up. The wheels on these are the 20-inch wheels, which are actually the smaller option you can get. I believe the biggest you can get is a 22-inch wheel. These actually look really nice. It's a very simple design. What I like most is to get good contrast.
So this is a mid-spec. The vehicle comes in a lot more inexpensive than this, and it maxes out around $92,000. The vehicle that we're looking today is priced at $85,000 MSRP, and so it's pretty much got a lot of the features, but it's not fully loaded.
Rivals to this car are the Tesla Model X base model, the Mercedes EQC, which just came out, and the Audi e-tron Quattro.
So I think the closest competitor right now is going to be the Tesla Model X. And Tesla did something that's very common for a technology company. They had a focus on being first to market with electronic vehicle. And so when you think of electrified vehicles, initially people are thinking of Tesla right now, but Jaguar is out to change that completely with the introduction of this new I-Pace EV. And let's talk about some of the spec, Joey. Tell me about the power in this thing.
So the I-Pace makes 400 horsepower and around 500 pound-feet of torque. Now, that is quite a lot of power. However, because it has batteries and it's an SUV, it does pay the price as far as weight. It weighs 4,700 pounds. So you might say, okay, maybe it's not all that quick. However, because it's electric, the torque is instant, so acceleration is very good.
And so when we're talking about driving EV, the one thing that you'll notice no matter what EV you get behind the wheel of, whether it's electric Focus or a Tesla in ludicrous mode, is that the low-end torque is instantaneous. There is never any lag of any sort. They are very responsive vehicles because unlike a conventional engine or transmission pairing, this does not need to wait to give you all the torque. All the torque is right there on the battery. Joey also said something. You said batteries. So something the Jaguar does that's completely different from any other EV to date is that they actually use a series of batteries as opposed to one large battery to power the vehicle. Did you know that when you touched on it, or you just
Yes, I did. So most cars, for example, like the Tesla, they have one battery, and then they have an all-wheel drive system with two differentials. What Jaguar did, which is different, it's similar to Porsche, what they've been doing, is they've had two batteries. So you have a battery for the rear axle and a battery for the front axle. And so they're their own separate. The front axle makes 150 horsepower, and the rear is around 350.
Sweet. And that spec is on this vehicle or on the Porsche?
On this vehicle.
Okay. And the way the batteries break down, it's a little bit different. There's actually a series of upwards, I think, of almost 80 batteries that fire in series, and the batteries are laid out on a tray, essentially at the base of the vehicle, giving the vehicle a very low center of gravity. Because the battery is typically a very heavy component, like the drivetrain is in most vehicles, the battery is probably the heaviest component. And so this is a series of batteries laid in a tray at the base of the vehicle, giving us a low center of gravity, but also allowing us to replace one battery individually if there's a problem, rather than having to replace the entire battery, because those large lithium-ion batteries are very, very expensive.
All right, enough of us talking. Let's go take it for a drive.
That's what we came to do. Come on.
All right, well, no peas. It's just me and you.
Yep.
I'm kind of blown away your parents trust you to just jump in the car with a car salesman. So rock and roll. We're going to fire this thing up. As we know, it's electric, so we don't expect to hear that ferocious growl of a standard Jaguar. A lot of the EVs now are kind of emulating the sound of an engine.
That is true. And this car actually has a mode where you can control the noise it makes.
So the OS is pretty simple. It's like a lot of the OSs in the Jaguar Land Rover product. The first place you want to start is the home button, and so the home will bring us back to the kind of base screen, and then I'm guessing that's going to be somewhere here in the settings, which are these cog wheels.
And then one thing they've also based is the interior center console is based off a Porsche Panamera, not your traditional iPad that you get in a Tesla. So what's cool is the buttons down here are actually, when you turn the car off, you don't see them at all, and so it's not an actual button. It just lights up when you activate it. So there's no actuation to it, which feels weird at first, but you eventually get used to it.
Rock and roll, let's take off.
So we'll start out in comfort mode for now, just to see how it is in town, and then we'll put it in dynamic and see how it is performance-wise.
Let's go up in the ride height.
This car also has a lift, so right now it's being raised up, so if you're gonna go off-roading, you can take an I-Pace off-roading.
Pretty interesting, and I think I saw them do that on one of the reviews that I watched. I figure we definitely want to slam it before we go into dynamic.
Gotta have that stance. Are very interesting. We just scraped there.
We should have listed it.
Yep. Alright, now I'm gonna try a little acceleration run. 500 pound-feet of torque and 400 horsepower. It's not bad, I have to say. It's not like...
We got up to 70 pretty quick there.
Yeah, it's not like it's, you know, scary, but it's pretty... It's not bad. It definitely goes. It's pretty fun.
We're currently breaking the law at 90 miles an hour pretty effortlessly, so...
Yeah, you gotta be a little careful, and obviously the danger with electric cars is you do not have, you can't lose a physical car. You don't have a sense of, a feeling of, you know, the loudness from the engine at all.
That exhaust, so you feel like you're doing something. It's just quiet, but it's quick.
Yeah, so I've gone back into comfort mode. Now on the freeway, honestly, there's a lot of good sound insulation. There's no wind noise, but there is a lot of road noise, I have to say. You know, people always are like, oh, you know, electric cars are quiet, but the thing is...
Not having that engine to overcompensate.
Yeah,
you're really hearing a lot more of the road noise.
Yeah, especially, now these have the all-season tires, so you can definitely hear the road a lot. Yeah, so it's called active sound design.
Bingo.
So you can have calm, and then we can have dynamic.
Oh yeah, you definitely hear it.
That was actually an eco mode.
There's something primal about an exhaust note that the EV is still missing, and although they're manufacturing it with stuff like active sound design,
I don't know, it's kind of fake. It's kind of weird. It definitely sounds like a Formula E car in a way.
you hear something, so that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's odd.
It's lackluster,
Yeah,
to say the least.
it's almost pointless.
And I don't have anything bad to say about this car, but it's just something that we're trading off when we go EV versus that visceral feeling of driving, you know, a sports car with that exhaust note that we're also married. So I think, you know, I drove this thing in training, and one of the main things that we focused on above and beyond the fit and finish, because Jaguar's been building cars now for 100 years, and when you look at a company like Tesla, it's a newer company. They've been producing vehicles for 5, almost 6 years now, and so some of the tactile stuff, the fit and finish, the way things are to touch in this vehicle feel a lot more luxury than the Tesla product. But one of the ways this vehicle excelled was the suspension and the cornering.
Yeah.
This one
sure.
really has those Jaguar drivetrain characteristics, and you feel it.
Yeah, and one thing Jaguar's done great is with this car, you don't feel like, oh no, the engine's gone, I'm sad. It's kind of like they've gotten rid of it, but like you're not that, you know, it doesn't feel like it's like missing or awkward. It feels very natural, and I think that's a good compliment to Jaguar, because a lot of EVs, they just feel pointless, and this has a bit of a character to it. Now, when you put it into dynamic mode, the display changes, and then also the suspension tightens, and most noticeably the throttle response changes. And then if you want, you can change the active sound control.
I know, because here we go.
Yeah, it's not bad. The brakes,
A little bit of body roll.
yeah, it understeers a little bit. The traction control, whoa. Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, handling wise, the suspension damping is good, but I feel like the anti-roll bars should be a little stiffer. Because as we were going through that hairpin right there, I mean, we were at the limit, but it was understeering,
Yeah.
and you could definitely feel the body diving. Now, does this have air suspension or regular coilovers?
I believe this vehicle has air suspension. That's where we get the lift from.
Overall, comfort-wise, the seats are very comfortable. I feel like the bolsters, despite the adjusters, I don't know.
I mean, you're a lot skinnier than probably most of the clientele looking at this vehicle.
I am, but like,
So I'm not going to say that the seating should be hugging you that tight.
but it has a feel for you.
Yeah, it feels good, but I can stand to lose some weight, so it's pretty tight.
So now that I have my OBD2 reader plugged in, we're gonna do launch control in this car. So pretty simple, put the car in dynamic mode, then go to the settings, then go to features, and then you go to low friction launch, click on, and whenever we're ready. Or maybe just have your left foot on the brake and right foot gas.
Joey's going to teach me how to drive during this series, because all I ever do is test drives with soccer moms in the valley.
Fun!
Which is totally fun, by the way. I don't mind.
Okay, OBD2 is ready, here we go. I run my camera bag. Alright, not bad.
What'd you get?
It didn't load. Well, I'm gonna estimate that was around 4 seconds. Off the line, it jumped pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, the bag rolled, my neck jerked. Turning radius.
Let's see. It's actually not bad.
Plenty tight.
Yeah, it's actually a very short turning radius.
Very limited body roll, considering it's like a SUV crossover type.
Yeah, and some of the technology Jaguar likes to use is this technology where you have air from when the body turns, that it sends the air out of this side of the suspension and pushes air on the other side to level the car out.
Kind of offsetting that cornering. You also have a very low center of gravity with those batteries placed at the base of the vehicle.
In the comfort mode, the bumps aren't terrible.
I mean, I was hitting speed bumps at 30 miles an hour. Like,
Yeah, and honestly, it's not painful. Clearance-wise,
Plenty
it's not too bad.
plenty of ground clearance, and you can always get more, right, with that lift and the air suspension there. So
this car also has downhill descent control, so if you're going off-roading as well, when it raises the car, it will control your speed. And then also it has a system of when there's an object close to your car, with the 360-degree camera view, it will turn on, and then it will tell you where the object is.
So yeah, I mean, overall, as far as EV goes, with a max spec at a $90,000 price tag, and the max spec of the Model X somewhere around 140, this definitely presents a great value proposition. Overall, it's a very cool car.
It is.
And it's kind of like the first of its kind. I mean, you know, I really haven't seen anything as well-rounded as this yet. I guess we need to go drive the Mercedes.
Yeah, the Mercedes is coming out, they're saying July 2019 is when they're going to start arriving in dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
The Audi is probably going to be spring 2019.
So maybe a car show, end of this month. We'll go to LA Auto Show and we'll just look at
Yeah, because
we'll look at them.
they will
They'll
be at
be
the auto
there.
show. And
No, they'll
I
be there
actually
for
do
sure.
know the head of Mercedes-Benz corporate in America,
Sweet.
so he could hook us up.
All right, cool. Well, we're in then. We're gonna go check out the Mercedes. We'll go check out the Audi. We'll spend like 2 days at the show. I
Lots of
heard that
coverage.
if you have a key to a brand
You can
that
get
they
into a booth.
let you into the booth. And so I've got the 12 brands that we sell here at Galpin. So I'll make sure I bring a key to everything that we have here. And then you guys have a Benz because we don't have Benz, and you have a Benz corporate relationship. So that covers that.
And then also, I actually last year I got into the Genesis booth, even though I don't own a Genesis. Their corporate guy let me in.
Sweet. Always working the angle, this kid.
LA Auto Show, we're gonna have some pretty cool coverage from that.
Stoked.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Jaguar I-Pace. I'm Joey.
I'm Justin.
And this is Kid and the Car Salesman.
Woohoo!
Special thanks to Galpin Jaguar for loaning us the car. Hope you guys liked the video. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.